Welcome back to one of our videos. It's Deb from Huckleberries. Happy to be here with you. Missing all of you now that we're not having demo days, but this is hopefully just as good for you. Here is the Magic Friends panel, and the panel has just the pictures on it. So 6 were used in this panel. There's actually 8 on the panel, and it's by Free Spirit. And I did one last year that had more soft pastel colors and chickens in it, but this one's very bright, so I actually went quite bright with the star blocks that I designed to go with it. So there is what the panel looks like bordered, and here's just to show you before. You're adding the top and bottom, which is narrower, and then a wider side to bring it up to the square that I needed to match the star blocks. And this is all typed up. I do have a few pages here to go with it. We can email it to you if you purchase the panel. If you pick it up, the black and white didn't come through as clear, so it's better for us to email it. So you're trimming them as per the pattern and then adding on those. But what I really wanted to focus on today was the star block. So these star blocks, I decided to go yellow points and the teal points just to match with the colors. And picking the background I was going light, then I went, you know what, I have to go quite dark and vibrant. So I ended up going with this pink, which we did get another pink in that was really similar to it. Okay, and so what you're looking at is the block is here. You've got the 4 corners that are squares. You've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 star point blocks. And the center, I kind of played with this. I did 3 quarter squares, so you've got 2 colors here and the matching star point color here. And so there's 4 blocks that are together to get kind of the pinwheel. You don't notice it so much on the yellow star because the teal color sort of blends in with the floral that was with it here. But that's what the pinwheel looks like. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to make the blocks with the slotted trimmer and with your just squaring up as you normally would. I love my slotted trimmer, as does Joanne. We know it reduces so much time. So what I'm going to show you here, this is what your star point block will look like. It's just a half square. That's it. Okay? It's all about how you're laying it on your, so these ones get this point towards the top there, and then you switch that one around, and you do that on all 4 corners. So to create that block, I figured out the strip widths that I needed. So this is the background with the color. So the teal one's there. There's a background with, whoops, there's the background. Sorry, background and then the yellow. Now I had played with these. These are 2 3/4 inch strips. I had done it with 3-inch strips, and I'm going to show you, you can get away with 2 3/4, and I will cut that one for you. So you've got in your slotted trimmer set, those are the 2 that you get. And you can see this one is the even inch, okay, which will finish at the 1/2 inch. So this is what they're going to be cut to. So this is the square size here. So these ones are going to be 3.5 inches for the star points. So what I'm doing is I'm putting, and if you can see the 3.5 inch line on to the, okay, seam line there, and then you can match it up like that. Now what I have to do though to cut, I've got to turn it my way because I cannot cut in towards Joanne or to me. I'd be, okay, I gotta get over top to make sure. And then I'm going to trim. And the one thing you don't want to forget, oh, you know what, I might use this other cutting mat. You go in and you trim off into the slits, and that's what makes a slotted trimmer so handy. Hope I got those. Okay. And then, can you see what I want to show you here is those little stitches there. Okay, so what happens, that's with 2 3/4 inches. I just have to pop those open. So you're not doing any damage, and those actually will get all sewn into your seam anyways. And you have a perfect 3.5-inch square made. Okay, and now what I do with these is I actually press this the way we normally would. I would set my seam, I would press it flat, then I would turn it to the back and I would press it again, and then I would open that up with my iron and press it flat so it's like that on the back. It just makes all your points match better when you're matching up with your pinwheel ones that we do in the middle. So that's how we do it. Then I go right across the strip, and I actually had written down, I think on this strip, you can see here, when I was doing I could get up to, I think 14 to 15 across the strip on these ones, at least 15. So that was pretty good. So I actually used less fabric doing it this way than if I just cut my squares. So the same thing happened. These are the cuts from this strip. So I would just continue right to the end. So I can get 2 more on this one. You could see I would go this way now. Same thing, and then I would come back and I would get 1 more. I'd have to check. I might lose it here, so I might not get that full one. But these were my extra ones left over, so I'll have some blocks I can finish with my extra panel blocks. So that's what the slotted trimmer. If you're not using the slotted trimmer, you need to start with 4-inch squares, okay? And there's the line. So you mark your line, and then I told Joanne I had to I've kind of tried to color on top of my stitch line so you could see that. And then I'm going to cut down the middle on that drawn line. Okay. Now if I could use my slotted trimmer this way as well instead of the strips, but the strips, because I needed so many, that's why I did the strips. If I was using the slotted trimmer, I would put that on my stitch line and trim and then cut, okay? But we're gonna show you, I would need to press this first, and I would press it open, so you're not gonna get this totally flat. And now I need to square that up to 3.5 inches. So now what I need to do, I'm going to use this mat. It's a little easier to turn. I'm going to use my ruler. So you want to use a square ruler that has a diagonal, and you're going to run the diagonal on your seam line. I'm going to kind of push it down. So what I need to see is 3.5 inches all the way around, and you want to see that it's going to come out both the top and bottom. And then I am going to trim around that. I got it. There we go. And then I'm either going to pick it up and turn it, or I'm going to just turn it. Sorry, Joanne. So I've cut this bottom part. Now I'm going to put, whoops. I've got arrows from another project. That's why they're on there. Okay. I must have cut those 2 sides. There, so I'm going to center it on the seam line and making sure my cut lines are now underneath there. Can you see how many more steps this was? So, more room for error on my part, cutting. Okay. And now I've got the same block as my slotted trimmer block, but I had to cut it 2 times to get around the block. So you can see how fast it goes if you're doing a lot, especially the strip sets. So it works like the strip tube ruler. So these can also be used in place of the strip tube ruler if you know how big your squares are, which is the other advantage if you've got those ones. And we do have the larger size ones in these as well that allow you to go up to 10 and 10.5 inches. So that's our cuts for the star points. So you make, for each block, you're making 8 of those. And then for the pinwheel block is a 3/4 square, which means you start with a 1/2 inch, and we're actually going to make these ones. I'm going to reverse it on you. I'm going to show you the same way we did. It's the same process we just did, except bigger. So you're going to mark the line, and I always pick, that's a busy fabric, so do it on your lighter color. This one I didn't mark those stitch lines. And actually, a good tip on these, when you mark your line, I know Joanne uses the magic wand, and I think she marks the lines that she stitches on. Another thing to do is when you mark this line, stitch less than a 1/4 inch away. And that way you're going to have lots of room to trim these up when you need to. So again, this one would just be cutting down the middle. Okay. Now this time we have to start off with a bigger square though. So this is actually 4.5 inch square as opposed to the 4 inch because we're doing it we're doing two separate steps. So this is going to be the same idea. You would press this, open up the back, and you would square that down to 4 inches now. So again, using your ruler and cutting the two sides, turning it, and trimming those two sides to get that. Okay. Now I could also do it the strip tube method, which is this one here. Okay, so you can see our first strip set was the narrower one, which were that wide. This one's a little wider, okay? And I've written down in your instructions that you're starting with 3 1/4 inch strips. So this is a 1/2 inch wider. The other ones were 2 3/4. This is 3 1/4. And this time we're not doing a 3 1/2 inch cut. This was 4 inches. So we're switching to slotted trimmer B, okay, which allows me to do the 4 inch one. And same exact process. We put the 4 inch line onto the seam line. Am I on it, Joanne? Can't even see it through
I think
there.
so. Yep.
Something like that.
There you are.
Okay. And then I can just trim that and leave it there. Pull that away. I want to show you. I have to remember, and often, I don't know if you do it, Joanne, but sometimes I forget
The dog ears.
to trim my dog ears. I'm not at a good angle here, so I'm just trying to be careful. And, sorry.
Mike says, lose a chum, not a thumb.
So, there are my dog ears, and then that's where the stitches again. We can pop those off, and then we are at our 4 inches. So for my pinwheels, I either had them start like this. They were either the teal and the floral or the yellow and the floral, and that's where you can see here. So the teal and the floral ended up being inside of the yellow pointed ones, and the yellow and the floral ended up being in the middle of the teal, the opposite ones. So I kind of drew these out and colored them in to play with what it might look like. And again, you would go right across your strip to get that. Then what we do, the next step, we can't do it as a strip. We take our, there. So in this one, so this is like the yellow one, so I'll move that out of the way. Now you're going to take, for the yellow ones, you're going to take a teal square to go on top of them, and on the teal and floral, you would get a yellow square, which I don't have extras of right now. So I'm just showing you on this one. So you're going to mark on the back of this line, but this is super important. If you look here, if I put that line there, it's actually matching up with this line. And if you sewed on that side, you would just get a 1/2 square there and a 1/2 square there. We don't want that. So you've got to make sure you're actually offsetting. So there's a line underneath of that one. You're going to go in the opposite direction. Put that on top. And here's your test. Flip it back. There you go. There's your 3/4. So this half is made up by the 2. And then you've got the same thing happening there. Okay? So when you do that one, I've shown you, there's the cut that's there. I'll have to, I sewed there. So I'm going to cut down the middle. Like that. And you can use your slotted trimmer now to do the next cut. So this is actually going to be our finished block, which is 3.5 inches. This is what we want to be the same size as our star point. Actually, I should show yeah, it would be this one that would match us. The star point is the same size, and then our corners here are also 3.5 inches. So that's how I figured out how to make my panels. These were 3.5 inches, finished at 3 across plus 1/2 inch. So this is a 12.5 inch finished, or 12.5 inch square that I had to make those 12.5. So they finish at 12. So you could do this with anything. Now the pinwheel idea though, once you've got, where am I here? Oh, with the slotted trimmer. So now I switch back to my slotted trimmer A because that's the 1/2 inch one. But what I want you to see, and I won't do the actual cutting, it's more about the lining up, because can you see my center here? This is super important that I do the center line here as well and have this on the 3 in it. So if I do that, it's actually not, it's going to be square, but it's not going to be square to that center line, okay? So that when we do that and trim it, which I guess I will trim it. Watch out, Joanne. Try and be square. Sometimes if you just push down into the slot, but and there again. Actually, if you go sideways into it, just like our stripology, then you know you can get in there. Close that. What I want to show you is, see the point? That's where that made the difference. Otherwise, if I'm not on that line, that might be over here. You'd have a square, but you wouldn't have that centered. So that's what you get with, and I'm not going to square this one up. I just want to show you, if you were using the regular squares as well, you actually would take, oh, I think I'd do it on this one. I can kind of see where I've got it coming through the middle. I want to still center it there. It's 3.5 inches, so I'm not going to have much to take off, but I'm still going to use my center line here and trim and turn it and trim again to get that same one. So you can see the slotted trimmer was awesome. With that center line, that made it really nice and easy with the 3/4 square. So what I want you to do too is look at these two though. And this is from the same set. You get the opposite. You get the floral on the inside here. So if I go to put these together, look what happens. I'm just forming like a squares all the way around. So what you have to do, one set gave me 2 different ones. I have to repeat this 3 more times, and I will get 4 blocks in that direction, 4 blocks in the opposite direction. So you can see here, so I've got the colors rotating this way through. Let me find the opposite one is here. Okay, so it kind of goes, you'd never notice. It's just where it ends up falling. So you just have to be aware of that when you're, well, you'd notice as soon as you put them together that that wouldn't work well. So that's where I've got, oops. So these ones are all the same. And so when you put them together, now you can see the pinwheel will start to form there. Okay, so then you've got those blocks. Then you're just going to add your star points to the corners. So if this was my yellow one, the yellow point, what did I say? Which way did it go? That was always the funny part. I would do my 4 corners. Like that. Well, I don't think I've got enough star points to do all of the star points. So then the star points actually, it's like butterflied actually in towards the center, isn't it? So that one and that one, and then you would repeat it with all your, open them up, that one. I don't have any others cut. And you would go through and keep going with those 4, and you've got your star blocks. And then to put them together, you're just deciding where you want your which animals you want. I decided to pull out one of the deer because it had so much yellow on it. And then I went with the 2 owls, left the bunny out too, which were the 2 that I showed you earlier. So now I've got enough to do a small little baby quilt or a kid quilt for their doll, because I'll have 4 star blocks left and 2 panels. So I can just do something this size, which would be really sweet just to give along with the gift, as a gift with this quilt. Okay, thanks for joining me and Joanne today, our behind the scenes. She's not telling me to hurry up, so that's
No.
good. Thanks everyone. Hope to see you soon.